Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast. So, we have a special guest today. And she's going to be talking about how to protect your personal brand with mood mastery and self-awareness. So, this is going to be a good one because I know for sure I'll be like, I am not in the mood. But how does that work when we're trying to build a brand and we're trying to build relationships and we want, to make sure that we have that know, like, trust factor, right? So let me tell you a little bit about our guest and then we're going to jump into this very good conversation. So Kenya Metoyer is a relationship coach that helps individuals to unlearn and relearn relationship skills. She's passionate about emotional intelligence, empathy and connection, personal growth, mindfulness, and her signature topic is conflict resolution. Her journey has led her to specialize in transformative emotional journeys, healing through understanding and self-discovery. She is speaking all over the US, ready to go global with this because she knows what she's talking about. And it's such a good topic because so much of what we do hinges on how we show up and our personalities and how people perceive us. So, welcome, Kenya. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. I am so excited to be here. We have been anticipating this for some months now. And oh my goodness, it's here. It came and to talk about some moods, okay? Because I want to know what mood you were in this morning when you woke up.
Ooh. Oh, you know what? That's a great question because for me, it definitely varies. So today,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I woke up I was tired because I had a
Mm-hmm.
big weekend with
Mm-hmm.
family, and I woke up actually in gratitude today.
That's
So
good.
it was a good day, yeah, so far.
That's good. And before we get into it, I am glad that you used the word gratitude because since we're getting into moods, I do want to get deeper into words because verbiage is key. And a lot of people, when it comes to mood, they just think it's about one or three, like happy, sad, angry. Like,
Mm,
no, but gratitude, that's a good word because you could have easily said, I woke up happy.
mhm,
Yeah, but that would have just been, for me, that just would have been the generic or scripted answer. But gratitude, that's a great word because that goes deeper into your actual mood. When you say you're happy, like I don't really know what that means. You know what I mean?
right.
But gratitude, I felt that. So that was a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah, I just felt like
Good.
I had so much to be grateful for with the weekend I had with family. I had a bunch of family. One international cousin popped up at my doorstep. That
Mm.
was crazy. So I was just grateful my
Oh.
kids were having a good time. I actually learned how to I wouldn't call it swimming. I don't say I learned how to swim. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that
Mhm.
far. But I can now
Mhm.
move in the water without touching the ground.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Oh my
at
gosh.
my big old age, never knew how to swim. Scared of the water,
Mhm.
can't don't trust the water. And from, my sister being here, hanging out, and I was able to
Mhm.
do it. So I just felt good, felt grateful for having
Yes.
family to be able to come and see me and hang out with the kids and
Yes.
stuff like that. And for me to be
Mhm.
able to have the time and energy to be able to embrace them. And yesterday I had work,
Right.
but I ain't do no work.
Yes.
I was at the
Mhm.
pool. So grateful,
Yes.
definitely.
Oh my gosh. And again, that is another key part of mood mastery is the self-care. I know self-care is a buzzword, but it's an important buzzword now, but it's also deeper than that. Like I said, everything is surface level. And then there's a self-care could be anything for everyone, but it's also how you come out of it because that changes your mood. Like you said, you have work to do, and sometimes work equivalates equivalates to stress, right? And then that's a whole another mood. But the fact that you made a decision to choose yourself and put the work aside, that's how you woke up this morning. That's
Yep.
exactly why and how you woke up this morning. So self-care, it's a buzzword, but it's also very underrated. It's
Mm,
very underrated. It's an underrated action. Let's say that, because those are two different things. A lot of people can say, oh, you need a self-care day. Oh, I'm doing self-care. But no, the actual action of self-care is what is underrated because some, for an example, some people rush it. Some people rush self-care. They're like, let me hurry up and do this for myself. Or like, no, because that's
mm,
only temporary. Like you said, say for an example, if you would have just rushed out and had dinner with your cousin, like, oh my God, you're here. Let's just go eat, and because I have to get back to work. That would not have given you the same satisfaction that actually putting yourself first. So that look at the intro. That is good. That's amazing. I like that.
yes, I love it. So let's talk about you for a second. I would love to hear more about how you got into this work, right? Like,
Mhm.
what was there? I just want to know your journey. Was there epiphany you had? You
Yes.
said, you know what, I need to help people with this. Did you have your own
Oh my goodness.
experience that drew you to this line of work? Like, tell me a little bit how you got into to this.
Mhm. Yes. Well, I have a background in psychology, but I went to corporate right out of high school. I went to college 1 year, and then corporate came and offered me some money, and I was like, "This is what I just graduated from high. Okay, perfect, no problem." But also, shortly after getting into corporate, I got pregnant and I had my daughter, so I stayed in corporate. One day, my boss in corporate, he said, "You're going back to school. You're going back to school to get your degree," because I was in an office and people would come in my corporate office, sit on my couch and start telling me all of their problems and they were saying, and I've been advertising. All right. I've been advertising and all. And so I was like, do I just look very welcoming? They're like, yes, you do. So my boss said, "You're going back to college." And he allowed me to go during my lunch hour at night, and I obtained my degree in psychology for like I said, everyone was coming to me. But that is not where the relationship coaching come from, because I wanted to go in organizational psychology, which is for corporate, because naturally I was in corporate. That came outside from my own experiences. I was with my daughter's father, and I was with him for reasons of being 18. I was mad at my ex-boyfriend. He was cute, so on and so forth. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you want to have a baby?" He like, "Yeah, let's have a baby." And right when it hit me, it was like, "I don't want to have a baby." I was pregnant. And I was like, okay. Now, I grew up in a loving two-parent home. Loving. My parents, it's my brother and I, and loving. We dressed alike. We went everywhere. Like, I look back at the pictures, it was crazy. And everyone would think that I had the cheat code, right? A two-parent home. Oh my goodness. But what the problem was is when you meet someone that did not grow up in the same environment, that doesn't understand the family dynamic. So, in turn, my daughter's father was jealous of my family's relationship, that we were always together. He even accused my dad of not allowing him to be a great father because my dad was always supportive. And so that clashed. Well, I decided I didn't want to be with him anymore. We just weren't growing, and for other reasons, but it wasn't volatile. There was no cheating or anything involved. I just didn't want to be with him. In my mind, I started coming up with an exit plan. 5 years into my exit plan, yes, it took 5 years because, again, I grew up in a two-parent home. This is all I know, but I know that I'm not happy, and I know that we aren't going anywhere as a couple. I wanted to continue to be his friend and co-parent. Well, One day in Wendy's, I'm in the Wendy's restroom and a lady just comes and start crying and telling me all her relationship. And I said, you know what? This is where it's at. This is what I need to do, and I need to exit myself because how can I advise her and I'm in my own space? I'm in my own space of unhappiness. I'm 190 pounds at this time. I'm wearing velour sweatsuits. I walk in, my mom said, "Hey, Barney," because I had on a
Mm-mm.
purple one day. All of these were epiphanies for me, because it hindered my mood. I'm 190 pounds wearing velour sweatsuits. I don't care. I'm walking around just unhappy, and people are coming to me. I can't do it. I have to walk what I'm saying. Right when I was ready, he proposed. Jesus, I said, "Oh my gosh!" So
The
it set me
same
back,
boyfriend?
y'all.
Well, how long?
The
The
set,
same boyfriend and you were trying to
yes,
leave for 5 years proposed.
yes,
Okay.
he proposed. He proposed. Now let's get. I'm gonna tie this into moods. This should have been. And I don't like to use the word red flag. I like to use. Well, let's use red flags for this one. This should have been. Well, not. This should have been my 100th red flag. But and I say this jokingly, but it's some truth to this. He woke me up out of my sleep to propose. Now I say that to say anybody that knows me, Kenya loves her sleep. The only thing she's gonna wake up for is some food. Like that is all that is it. Don't wake me up for nothing. So the fact that you woke me up to propose to me, that wasn't it. That was not it at all. And I should have known. But being a woman, naturally, the majority of us, I got caught up. Like, oh my gosh, I get to plan a wedding. Let's do this, right? Call my best friend. I never said yes. Let's just say that. I never said yes. That was a whole nother story. But call my best friend. We start planning the wedding. This was February. I had a huge engagement party in July. We weren't even talking at the engagement party. we, but I had a time.
Whoa.
All right. I had a time because it was a time, but we wasn't talking. That was July. August, I woke up one morning and said, I don't want to do this. Literally, that's how that went because my plan needed to be in motion. Where I see now in hindsight, because this was my daughter's 21 now, she was 5 at this time, is that I had it all figured out. He didn't. So I blindsided him. I had my plan. I said, you can go back to your mother's house. She lives around the corner. We can still continue to pay half the bill. Like I had the structure. Him as a man was like, whoa, gave me hell, became an absent father, gave me hell, all this good stuff. I started Kenya's keepsake because for me, I just thought that I did the right thing. There was no violence, there was no cheating, there was anything. I thought what I did was have a discussion and say we need to part ways, but here is the plan. He act like I killed his mother. I stole his Range Rover. Not that he had one, but he act like I just did him the dirtiest person, and I could never understand that. So for me, helping individuals to unlearn and relearn relationship dynamics is because it's the tools, the 5 communication styles, the love languages that we just did not have. He didn't read mine. I didn't read his. We weren't on the same page. We could not communicate the same way. And on top of that, we just weren't raised the same way because later down the years, when I spoke to his mother was like, oh, I told him don't worry about his kid until he graduate college and get his life together. I said, oh, okay. All right, cool. So I see where it comes
Mm.
from. Now, went through all that, I had to go through the moods and the motion of not having someone to co-parent with when I wanted to. There's so many women that, bump heads with their daughter's father or their partner and things like that. And you think that those are the only moods that people can go through. It is the high anger moods, the volatile moods, the I hate him. No, I say over and over again, I wanted to be his friend. You know what I mean? I wanted to co-parent him because he wasn't a bad person. He never raised his voice at me. He just wasn't. We weren't on the same page, and I thought that that was good enough reason for us to co-parent together. So my moves. went through a different stage from others as well. And I had to learn the tools for my mood mastery, the self-care, the self-awareness, the self-reflection, and the emotional triggers. Because it was very triggering for me that he was not a father like my father. Not comparing, but I'm a daddy's girl. So I'm like, I don't understand how you cannot be like, that's all I know. And so with those moves is where I came up with Kenya's keepsake to give people the tools to manage, because it starts with yourself. Most people blame the other person. It's always the reason for the failed relationships is because of the other person. But it's sometimes it's like, yes, if the other person may or may not be the reason, you are the master of yourself. You are the master
Mhm.
of your moods. And you are the master of how you react and how long you stay and how long it takes for you to remove yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
how I came here.
Woo, child. That
Yes.
honestly was a whole nother podcast episode, but we'll we'll keep
Oh my goodness, did I get off topic? I was
like,
like,
what?
oh my
This story was
goodness.
getting real juicy. I was like, I need to drink. I need to get my popcorn. This is crazy. All right.
Yes, yes, but it all
So,
goes to sorry. So let's take it back to the moods. But I have a daughter, so that's what I'm saying.
mhm,
My mood, I had to master my moods in order to raise a daughter that was not bitter, that was
right.
not moody because I was moody. So if I was angry with her dad for some reason, I couldn't go off on her because she is a splitting image of her father. She looks exactly like her father. And if I was not, a master of moods or did not learn how to master that, just looking at my child would make me
Mm,
frown and make me feel a certain way about her. Or if there were times when her dad would not pick her up if he knew that I wanted to go out. If I just took that out on her, because I had to sit at home and be there, my daughter would feel the wrath of that. And not just the child, your surroundings, your mood affects your surroundings a lot. And
yeah.
if you don't master that, it becomes collateral damage. So then the people around you don't know how to act around you. They start to walk on eggshells. They start to talk about you behind your back, all
Mm,
because you're in a mood. But then guess what? What happens in a week when you're healing, right? When
mhm.
I'm healing from my daughter's father, or when you're healing from your mood. And now you want to go back to those people like, hey, y'all ready for a drink? Let's go out. And they're like, because
Mm,
last week you called me an X, Y, and Z, or you turned your nose up at me. And so along that journey, you have to think about how you're affecting other people when you
yeah.
can't control your moods.
I love that. And I think, getting into some of the more business related, professional related type of
Mhm.
dynamics,
Mhm.
personal is going to impact business because you are
Yes.
still that same person carrying around that mood or that energy or
Yes.
those emotions and that feeling. And so for me, I know for me, I'm telling you, once one thing is thrown off, the other part is thrown. Business
Mhm.
thrown off, personal thrown
That's
off. Personal thrown off,
yes.
business thrown off because I carry it. And I beat myself up for that because I'm like,
Mhm.
I how can I?
Mhm.
But like that's just how human beings work.
Mhm.
We are emotional
Yes.
creatures and we carry things and we like to try to compartmentalize. Like I'm at work, so I'm gonna be
Uh-huh.
my professional self. But that thing that happened this morning at the house is still with you. So
Mhm.
what is your recommendation for managing
Mhm.
that and managing, because our brands are at stake when we go to work or when we have business and we right like you
Absolutely.
said. So your example was more in a social setting, but it could be a business setting, right? Where
Yes.
somebody said the wrong thing and now you
Mhm.
pissed off and now you're in a
Mhm.
bad mood. So now you go into your
Mhm.
call with that same energy and then now that
Mhm.
person is like, "Ooh, I don't know about her." So now your brand is tarnished. So talk to me a little bit about what you would
Absolutely.
would suggest to kind of manage that
Yes.
better.
I would suggest first is that find joy in the opposite, right? What I
Mm.
mean by that is that if the pressure or the challenges are at home, find the joy in work. So what I would do is if there's something going on at home and I go to work, I would find solitude in work. I would find satisfaction in work, in my coworkers. Going around like so again, I'm in corporate and advertising. I get to diddy bop around my office, see what's going on. I would make that my bright light and not worry about what's going on at home. Because again, like you said, you want your energy to transfer over to other people in the business space. You want to be the light. You want to do that. You don't want anyone else's energy transferring over to you, right? Because impressions are everything. A lot of people say first impressions. No, every impression, unfortunately, is everything. And I say that because not everybody has grace. You know how many times you can say yes, and at one time you say no. That's the only thing that person remembers. And this
Yeah.
isn't everybody, but in business, you could have so many great business relationships and great interactions, but that one time you walk by somebody with your cup of coffee and just brush by them real quick, that is the only thing that they remember. And it sucks. And so with that, I say, like find the joy. If there is something going on at work and it's a challenge at work, find the joy at home. Find the joy at peace. Can't wait to get home to my kids because these people over here are crazy. I can't
Mm.
wait to get home to, you know what I mean? Because you don't want them to entangle because that means you are spending it every 24 hours of your day in a mood, in a mist, in things. And that means that you're not leaning on your supportive system, right? Wherever that might be. And so you might have a coworker that is supportive. And not that you have to go to work and tell all your business. No. But again, find the joy in that conference room. Laugh at that corny joke that your coworker said. So that would be for me the first step, right? The second step when it comes to business and moods, especially when we are women, because I know I've had a lot of clients say, look, if my husband pissed me off, it's over for everybody. It's over, right? Look, I used to work for a woman and she was going through a nasty divorce at the time. And she stormed in one day and was like, go to the break room, grab some boxes, and I'm getting his stuff out. Now, I could have easily, right, been like, who you talking to like that? That's not my job. That's not like it. But again, it's really about understanding her emotions and her mood and giving her grace because I'm also a woman, right? I'm also a woman in business as well. I understand it is tough. It is tough out there, especially when you are high powered and you are a woman that is in control of your business. It's tough when you don't have the support system at home that you used to. Because what if your husband was your number one supporter in your business, right? And now
Mm.
he's trash or he's removed. You don't have that anymore. It is tough. So that's where me as my coworker steps in, understand that. And now I did not go get the boxes for her, but what I did for myself, I understand that sometimes mental is more and emotional is more of a connection. I could have easily went and got the boxes for her. That would have calmed her down. That would have been continued with the rage for her. What I did is I allowed her to breathe, allowed her to express her emotions in her office for about 10, 15 minutes and whatever she needs to do because you need that time.
Mm.
Everybody needs a moment in time. There are restrooms for a reason. You can call it a bathroom, whatever. It's a restroom for a reason. Go in there, take a breather, take that stop.
Mhm.
Rituals, gain rituals. I'm a music person. If what you have to do is go in there and listen to some music in your ear pods, think about it, guys. Athletes, how do you think they start warming up? How do you think they are
Mm.
us women for mood mastery? We need a warm up ritual, especially in business. I'm a speaker. I'm a host. I work with children. Listen, my assistant is not, her social battery isn't as high as mine, but she's a wonderful assistant. And again, going back to mood mastery and work, I respect her space. Friday night, for an example, we're out, I'm here, and she's just like, is it okay if I have a drink now? Because my social battery is really low. I didn't want to drink a lot. Yes, absolutely. Because again, I didn't want her mood to change, and she's representing my brand, right?
Right.
And so another tip is to allow yourself and your team to understand when you're high and when you're low, and take that time for whatever it is, whatever it is. Like I said, women, that's what I want us to do today. I want us to get a ritual. I move like this because, again, mine is music. If I have to go in and listen to a song, a lot yoga, all of those things important. And they don't have to be 30-minute sessions. They don't have to be an hour, because I don't want us to get into the habit of saying, I don't have time for self-care. I don't have time. No, because what you don't want to have time for is explaining why your mood was off last week. You
Mm,
don't want to have time to try to rebuild your brand and make scripts and apology videos. You don't
mm.
want that time. So you want to take 10 minutes to change your mood with whatever ritual it is that you have.
I think the other part of this is the
Mhm.
self-awareness, right?
Mhm.
So we get in these moods, and it could be a negative thing. Oh, I'm overwhelmed, stressed out, tired, whatever it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we're living in that moment, and sometimes we're not
Mhm.
even aware that this is just a mood, something triggered us to get here, and
Yes.
we have control to get out of that same mood. And I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of people don't realize, there are a lot of people, like, I didn't realize how much I could control my emotions and, like,
Yes.
how I react and my feelings and things like that. I'm still learning that stuff, being in a marriage.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Yes.
it's like, I think the other piece is catching yourself in the moment and being
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay, I'm tripping. Let me
Right.
remove myself before, things escalate. Let me
Mhm.
go and take a minute." And I think that is probably one of the hardest parts for people to
Mhm.
catch themselves in the moment, and it takes a high
Yes.
level of self-awareness to be able to do that.
So,
What do you think?
absolutely. My two keys to that is, number one, being self-aware of your emotional triggers,
Mm,
and or being aware of your audience, right? So it's two parts of that. Did that person trigger you, or is it that person? Because you can't control another person's actions or why they are doing something to you, towards you, especially in business. When you're meeting a vendor or a coworker, I mean not a coworker, or someone that you're working with in business, that you are a potential partner or something like that, you don't know their personalities off top. You don't know if they are nice. You don't know if they're snooty. You don't know if they're entitled. There are a lot of people in the business that feel that they are entitled, whatever, based on their list in the business or anything like that. They're entitled, and with entitled comes with attitude and matter of fact tone, right? So that's what I mean by, in business, you have to consider your audience. Or is that a trigger? Did the person come up to you and say, you need to go over there and sign in? Now, is that because they're snooty and entitled and you should just be like, okay, no problem. Thank you very much. And walk over there. Or if that person says, you need to go over there and sign in, and you get triggered, is it because all your life women have been coming at you like that and you don't like people talking to you? Is it because your mother has always talked to you and said, you need to do this, you need to do that? That's an emotional trigger. That has nothing to do with the other person. So you see, there's two parts of it. That is the key part in self-awareness that you need to understand. And once you understand that about yourself, then you'll learn how to master how to handle your mood instantly. Because you got to stop and say, hey, is it me or is it
mhm.
them? Now, both times you should walk away, right? You should never react on it. But each time you should recognize what it was. Because
Okay.
again, if it was just the fact that I don't like people talking to me. You know, you hear that, don't nobody talk to me like that. My mama don't even talk to me like that. That's a you thing right there. Now the other person, that's something else.
Right.
So
Right.
those are the two
Yeah.
keys of self awareness.
I think that makes a lot of sense. For sure, for sure.
Hmm.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the emotional intelligence piece in terms
Yes.
of I guess it's kind of spinning off what you just said about understanding.
Mhm.
'Cause, okay, so I'm gonna give you a prime example. Last
Mhm.
night, my husband and I had a discussion, and
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, you snapped on me," and I'm like, "When did I snap on you? What are you talking about? I don't remember snapping on
Yeah.
you. I had nothing against you this whole entire time." I said, "I was overwhelmed, and in my own frustration, it probably came out in a not so great tone, but that was never my
Mhm.
intention to come at you. It
Intention.
wasn't about you at all. You didn't do anything wrong, right?" And so in the moment, he's like, "Oh, let me step over here because she mad, she's snapping." And I'm just like, "Let me just get all this stuff done." Right?
Mhm.
So now we miss some hours because he was keeping his distance
Yeah.
because he interpreted things differently than how I delivered it. And that happens all the time in
Yeah.
business, in life, in relationships, in parenthood, all the time. And so, what are your thoughts around being able to be emotionally intelligent to be able to
Mhm.
interpret these things? Does it come with like
Yes.
knowing who you're dealing with, knowing the person? Does it come with you just kind
Mhm.
of recognizing signs in other people that
Mhm.
say, what's going on there, and be able to assess? Is it asking straight up, hey, are you snapping at me right now? Are
Mhm.
you okay? Like what are your thoughts around
Yes.
being emotionally intelligent?
It's all of that with gray areas, unfortunately. So let's start with emotional intelligence, another oversaturated word, but that's important. But it's only oversaturated because people don't understand it. People think that it has something to do with you. I need to be emotionally intelligent when that it has nothing to do with that. Being emotional intelligent is learning how to deal with other people's emotions. It has nothing to do with you in the moment. It is being able to manage other people's emotions and understanding that on that end. And
Right.
yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of people miss that in business, in relationships, and just in interactions because, to the point that you're saying, is that people take everything personal and they get defensively, almost expeditiously, defensively. As soon as it's like, and it's just like, whoa, and it's like, I didn't even get to finish what I was saying. I use this example a lot because I have monthly mixers with men and women, and it's called the Battle of Perspectives. And this was another thing that they were saying, that women are too emotional. So the women were like, define emotional. Is emotional when I'm expressing and I'm crying and I'm like, oh my God? Or, and funny, the guys were saying that being aggressive was emotional. And it's the assertiveness. And as women, when you say emotional, we don't think that that's emotional. We think that we're opening up to you and things like that. And so it's the other person taking it as a personal attack as opposed to the other person venting, right? And the second part that you touched on was, yes, knowing the other partner, knowing the other person and how they handle things, and understanding that that is their outlet. It has nothing to do with me, and I need them in the moment to do that. But also not holding it in, because you should address how that made you feel later, but just not in that moment because you feel attacked. So, for an example, I'm OCD. When I'm anxious, I clean. I move. So I'm like you, said, I move a lot. I want to do this, and I'm the type of person that I want people to help me, but then they don't do it the right way, right?
Yes.
And my daughter's 21, and like you said, it's with any relationship. at first my daughter, because they're children, she thought that she was helpless. Like, I'm trying and mom is always, but I'm like, no, she understood growing up and being around me over time that that's my outlet. That's what I do. So she in turn learned how to maneuver around me, right? Not taking it personal. She's like, mom's in her mood. I'm going to move around her and try to help where I can. And so in that situation, especially in business, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this person, going back to the entitlement with business. All right, this person, I don't know this person. This person may or may not be attacking me personally. I might not like it right now, but because I don't know this person, I don't know how to handle it. So I'm just going to sit and not take it personal and then wait to address it later. And that's sometimes what people don't like to do in any relationship, an intimate relationship. They don't like to take a step back. They step forward or they take two steps forward. Like, you did what? Like, you what? Right? So in the moment, what you want to do is remember to not take it as a personal attack. That is how you can start on the path of emotional intelligence. And then start to try to understand how that other person moves and copes, right? So when you understand that this is going to make them happy, this is going to calm them down, this is that. Then the third part of it is addressing it, because you don't want to leave that part out. You do want to address it, but how you address it is more about, all right, I see that when you're this, you do this. That makes me feel helpless, or that makes me feel like you're attacking me. So next time, can you try to calm down before you speak to me? Or let's sit down before we talk. I can't talk to you. That's a good one. So maybe in the future, your husband could say, I can't talk to you when you're moving around. So sit down first and then let's talk. Because when you're moving around, because I know voices elevate, your tone, you're moving around. We're just anxious. So maybe
Yeah.
that could be a step. He said, look, I can't talk to you while you're anxious and you're moving around. So if you want to discuss this right now, sit down somewhere and let's get this out, right? Instead, because as men, they don't want to deal with it. They're hands off. They would rather, and I teach that in my Mastering Conflict Resolution, that's the avoidance style. They just rather not deal with it. They're like, you know what, do you? They're going to go play ball, get on the game, or whatever it is that they do, but still holding that resentment. And in my mind saying, you tripping. She just in there tripping again. She in there tripping. We don't want that. We don't want anything to fester. So
Yeah.
those are the 3 steps. I hope you guys are writing those down.
Yes. Oh, this is so good. So when we have those issues, with
Mm-hmm.
us professionally, right? So professional
Yes.
women, we get moody sometimes. Side note, men get moody too, but okay. We get moody
Absolutely.
sometimes,
Absolutely.
and
Mm-hmm.
something a little we had a little incident where we weren't the most
Mm-hmm.
professional, or we said the
Yes.
wrong thing, or our tone was off, and
Yes.
now we have an issue because the other person took offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, so a week later, we're over it, and like you were saying in the beginning, we're coming back like, hey girl, hey, and trying to conduct business as usual, but now they're holding that grudge.
Yes.
um how do we now clean it up in the
Mm-hmm.
professional sense, in terms of, because not just that person, because like you also said in the
Yes.
beginning, now they're talking, so now there's rumors,
Mm-hmm.
so now your brand is
Mm-hmm.
tarnished.
Yes.
How
Yes.
do we protect it, or fix that, rectify, so that we
Mm-hmm.
can go back to that, or can we, is it done, is it over with, like once
Yes.
it happens once, like
Mm-hmm.
how can we recover
Mm-hmm.
from something like that happening?
Now, it's so many great points in there, because the first one would be to self-aware on what the issue was about. I don't like to use the word fault, because fault, that means you're pointing fingers. But where did it stem from? And is this something, because remember, we're self-aware. Is it something that was in you that could potentially happen again in business again, or was this a one-off? Now let's go with the one off because
Yeah.
we don't want to go with that we just have multiple challenges in there. With a one off, first I would say, again, going back to self aware. Are you the person that's going back a week later after that saying, "Hey girl, hey," were you self aware that you've affected that other person? Because sometimes people honestly don't know that they have offended the other person, that they had said something or not, or exactly what it was. But now that you are self aware that you've offended that person, you have to find a way to connect with that person one on one. But before that, a lot of times it's a networking situation. So let's go with two different scenarios. If you have a supportive system and you've met that person through the network, it's okay to reach out to that trusted network person and get the feel of that person, because maybe the clash was because, like I said, you didn't know that person, you didn't know the personality type, and the personalities were clashing. But maybe you met that person through someone else. It's okay to get a feel from that person and say, how should I approach this and how do they feel? Now, that's not always the case. So that's one part of it. Going to a trusty person, acknowledging that you were wrong to that trusty person, because like we said, people talk. You never know. That trusty person could go back before you even have to represent yourself and say, hey, I spoke with Kenya. She really did not know, or, she really did. That person could vouch for you because you showed some remorse first if there was a networking situation. Now, if it's just on your own, you should still find a way to reach out that person, and not through a text message, not apologizing or doing a social media video apologizing. You should absolutely uh, own up to your part, acknowledge that you understand how that person made them feel. And if you still want to continue to work with that person in the future, end it on that note. I would love to continue to work with the deep, despite of what happened in the past over a misunderstanding. And that's what I want people to reiterate all the time. Acknowledge that it's misunderstandings, because 99% of the time it's misunderstandings. So find that understanding in business where you went wrong, especially if it's a great partnership. A lot of people lose great partnerships over moves, over not understanding how to master them and how to correct them. Now, I believe that everything is figure outable. Going back to your question, is it something that you can bounce back? Absolutely. I believe everything is figure outable. You know why? Because you have the control. It is your character. It is you on the line. So yes, maybe you've put yourself in a position where you have to work harder, but if you're authentic in your business and your business has spoken for itself in the past and you represent your brand, it is absolutely, absolutely possible for you to get back on top after a misunderstanding.
Now I love that you mentioned if you're being authentic. 'Cause that's the
Mhm.
topic I talk about all the time. This part of the premise of my whole business model is about authenticity and being
Mhm.
true to who we are, because a lot of
Yes.
people like to build brands based on a persona that they think the world wants, but really we don't want
Yes.
we want you. And so who are you? And I love that you brought that up because I feel like sometimes we want to act
Mhm.
like something, and
Yes.
it may or may not rub some people the wrong way. But if it's not rooted in truth, like if it's not really you, you've done even
Yes.
worse damage,
Yes.
if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
So
And so, go ahead.
no, I was just
Because
gonna
I
say,
wanted to
so
tie that.
yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to tie that into the flip side of what we're talking about. Some business relationships don't have to be repaired at all. They
Mm,
don't. Because sometimes the falling out or the challenge came because you recognize that that other person was not authentic. You
yeah.
recognized that the business was not going in alignment to what you were doing. And so that's why it fell out. So sometimes, yes, it could be figure outable to where you can clean up your name and you can continue to push it, but you do not have to reconcile. You do not have to continue that partnership. There has been plenty partnerships where I finished the project and I did not work with them anymore at all. And it was
Mhm.
okay. But I see, because I didn't lose my following, I took that as a lesson. I got my followers from there, my audience, my clients, and everything. And I kept it pushing because it was authentic. Nobody left me because I was no longer a part of that partnership. Nobody
Mhm.
left me. Everybody came with me and brought people other because I was the authentic one. And
Yeah.
so, yes, that is extremely important, especially when it comes to self awareness, because you have to be authentic to be self aware, because you can't be aware if you don't know what you're being aware of, right? And that is, and hey, just like anything that comes to light, you can only fake something for so long. You
That
can
part.
only fake it in your business. There are business people that I don't even, for an example, on the relationship side, but business too. Derek Jackson. I don't know if you remember his name or out
Yes.
there. Okay, right. Where is he? I haven't seen a testimony from anybody that he's having talked to. I don't know where he is now. He had the one scandal. You know why? He wasn't authentic.
Correct.
The scandal that came out about him went totally against everything that he
Everything.
ever said. He didn't
Yeah.
come out. It would have been, I mean, it's still bad, but it would have been different if he would have came out with real estate fraud, right?
Right.
Okay, I don't have nothing to do with your relationship. Your money, you did what you did. You know what I'm saying? But when you're not authentic, you run out of material.
Mhm.
You run out of discussions. You run out of conversation. And then the truth start coming out, because now you're trying to change yourself and you're trying to
Mhm.
follow something, and now you're a gimmick.
Yeah.
And so
I
authenticity.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, if we're authentic, right, and people know us, the real us, and we have a bad
Hmm.
day, a bad mood, a bad incident, da, 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 it was a one off,
Yes. Yes.
and they know who you truly
Hmm.
are,
Yes.
it'll be fine. It'll be
Yes.
okay.
And it'll be okay. Also, because those people are the ones that you have also helped when they were moody. So they
Mhm.
recognize that. You know what I'm saying? They're like, whoa, I know something's off, because she is always here, here, and here.
Right.
And so let me try to be her to her right now,
Mhm.
because she's in the mood. And you're absolutely right. But if there's someone who's just always nasty in the business, just their
Right.
personality is just nasty, and they really, really, really have a bad day, like it's like crying wolf. They're just nasty, and God forbid that they're grieving one day. No one's going to be empathetic
Mm.
or sympathetic with you, because you've always been nasty. So now
Well,
we
I
don't
think
we don't know.
yeah, because at that point it's no longer a mood, that's just your personality. Right?
Exactly. And
A
no one knows
mood
the
is a
difference.
quick
Yeah.
to me, a mood is a
Mhm.
short-term place.
Yeah.
Personality
Mhm.
is just who you are ongoing,
Mhm.
ongoing, ongoing. So if
Mhm.
you like you said, nasty, bitter person in general,
Yeah.
that's not a mood.
And it should be
Right.
identified, because that's
Mhm.
another thing, since we're talking about women, and because we go through the time of the month. PMS is something, again, that's it's very undereducated, and I want women to be more educated about their menstrual and their cycle and their hormones and things, because going back to emotional triggers, for an example, it used to be a thing, and I haven't heard it recently, but it used to be a thing when a woman is in the mood, it must be that time of the month,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she must be PMSing. It must be, and it's just like, well, that's a trigger if I am. You're just gonna say that because now I'm in the mood, right? But identifying, like you said, the difference between a mood and a personality, because a person in business could always be nasty, but someone, because the meeting and the networking is in rotation, right? So say you've met Patricia at one conference, right? And then I met her at another conference, and me and you come together, we would both be like, oh, she was moody that day. And I'm like, she was moody that day. But then it's like, oh, no, that's her
That's
personality.
just who
Because
she is,
again,
yeah.
you would see, right. So it is about identifying, because you're right. Your personality, mood, you can master. Your personality, that's something totally different. Going back to self-awareness.
Yep. Yep. Oh my
Self-awareness.
goodness, this has been so good, but we're gonna have to
Yeah.
wrap it up right now. So
Oh
yes, Kenya. I appreciate you
no.
for being here. This has been such a fun discussion. You have
Yes.
so many great stories and analogies. So thank you for
Thank
making this a very
you.
engaging show today. But I want to
Thanks.
let the people know a little bit about what you do and how they can connect with you, and if you have anything
Hmm.
that you may want to offer and how they can connect.
Absolutely. So yes, I Kenya's Keepsake is a wellness and coaching boutique that I have, and I offer one-on-one coaching for singles, couples, individuals. Because again, I help individuals unlearn and relearn relationship dynamics. That's in any relationship. I also mentor youth. I hold monthly mixers for men and women. We come together and we just hash out the most challenging relationship discussions and topics that is going on out there. Let's see, you can follow me on social media. Instagram is at Kenya's Keepsake. That's Instagram as well. Facebook, Kenya's Keepsake. LinkedIn, Kenya's Keepsake. And you can follow me on, go to my website, www.kkeepsake.com. And since we were here talking about mood mastery, I am going to offer everyone here my free mood mastery ebook. It hasn't dropped. I was going to drop it in October. But for you guys, because again, this was fun. This was a short period of time, but going into my ebook, it actually gives you steps, tips, strategies, keepsakes, and room for you guys to write down your moods daily. So go ahead, follow me, and I would love to just chat with you guys about any questions that you have.
Love it.
Any
Thank you
mood
so.
you in.
Yes, yes, because I'm working on it. I think I'm getting a little better with my moods, just recognizing them and
Yes.
getting ahead of them,
Hmm.
before interacting with my family.
Yeah.
'Cause
Right.
yeah. But yep,
Yeah.
a
And
lot
have you
of
seen Inside Out? You have kids. You seen the Inside Out movie?
Mm, auntie came this weekend and took them. I didn't go, so I didn't see it.
You
But
should. I love
a
it.
and I'll throw in this last little tidbit because remember I talked about learning how to swim, quote unquote swim. Well, my
Hmm.
son was in the pool and, the aunt was there, that my sister was there teaching them to swim, and she said, just like Inside Out said, if you could replace your anxiety and fear with a new belief system or something like that, you can do
Yes.
anything. You can do it. And I was like, okay, I got this. I could do it. And I just
Yes.
took it and I said, okay, Mel, you can do this. And
Yes.
literally, I did it. So apparently, the movie is powerful. It has
Yes,
a
it
good
is. So
message.
it's part two. I was a fan of
Hmm.
part one.
Hmm.
And me, my adult daughter, and her adult boyfriend went to go see part two. I recommend every adult to see it. Forget the kids, every adult. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing. So awesome. I love part 1 as well. I watched it several times with them. So, yes, ma'am. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again for being here. And anyone
Thank you.
listening, if you enjoyed today's episode, please support the podcast. Okay. Subscribe. We're
Yes.
here on YouTube. We are on we go live on LinkedIn. We are on Apple, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts, we are there. So go ahead, subscribe. If
Yes.
you enjoyed the show, leave a rating, leave a review. Let us know how you enjoyed the episode today and connect with Kenya. Okay. If you
Yes.
want to master your moods and you don't want to put your brand at jeopardy, if you need to be, constantly trying to repair relationships, get with your girl because it doesn't have to be this
Yes.
way. She can help you to unlearn and relearn the dynamics of strong relationships. So remember,
Yes.
y'all, the name of the podcast is Empowered Presence. Empowered is just the authority to do something, and presence is the state of fact of existing. Be who you are and be powerful in that, and that is enough. Until next time, y'all. Happy self marketing.